fun time. All right, we will call to order today's Transportation Subcommittee meeting. We have a quorum as duly noted. David, was the agenda posted correctly?
It was.
All right. And before we go to public comment, do we want to talk about a overarching communication on the Green Line extension? Because I will move likely at our next meeting that we take the unofficial official position that the Transportation Subcommittee will not have a recommendation on this until Metro gives direction about what their option is. Otherwise, I think we'll be in an endless cycle of public comments going nowhere. So that will be, I just put sort of to the general public that is out there. We obviously it's not agendized at this meeting, but for the next meeting, we'll likely move that we have a position to wait to take a position if we end up taking one at all. So with that, do we have anyone here for public comment?
May I comment on your comment right there?
You certainly may. My comment was context and not official.
Public comment on his comment.
I'm Ray Holler from Southwest Lawndale, homeowner. My concern there is that if you wait until later on, public comment tends to be of a very narrow window. And this group has been very generous of its time, but Metro, for example, gives you only 60 seconds. So if we wait for, and I've given a number of quick talks, I try to keep them succinct. But if we wait until then, if this COG waits until Metro makes its recommendation and public comment only has one cycle to make comments, then that narrows the window for comment. That's my comment about comment.
Certainly worth it to get it into the record. Understood. We will be in an unenviable position of having three cities with three distinctly different views within our COG. So I'm not overly sanguine on our ability to come to a advisory position. But that said, public comment. Do you have it's time for public comment? Would you like a real, I like a non-contextual comment?
Yes, I would reserve judgment on what the three cities that have voices, or major voices anyway, in this regard, to see what they say when they all take a clear stand.
Very well. Do we have any comment online?
Mr. Chair, I do have a question about this one.
Sure.
So do I understand correctly that you're saying that next month, this committee will take up the question of whether or not this COG would support the extension of the Green Line project?
I think that what my supposition, my postulate there was that we would wait until Metro gives direction about what their preferred alternative is before weighing in with a insight of our own.
That's Metro's next step.
Because their next step in their process.
I understand that's the next step, but is the suggestion there that it is still a question as to whether or not this COG would have a support for the project, period, one way or the other? Is that's what I'm still not.
The alternative of there being no alternative.
Yeah.
I think that's a possibility as well. I think that the COG could decide we don't like any of these.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
But otherwise, we were sort of descending into some acrimonious meetings without result. Was my 2 cents of managerial cowardice. All right, with that consent calendar, we have minutes and the transportation reports. Would anyone like to move approval or pull anything from the consent calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Second, do we have any abstentions?
I will abstain on the minutes because I was not here for that meeting.
Very well. Can we still vote on that? Do we have a quorum to vote?
Need a quorum.
Yeah, I think
Okay, all right.
he's still here for the quorum.
Any against? Any opposed? All right, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Working groups, IWG. We have Ted.
Ted here. No updates since last month. Our meeting's on Wednesday. We will have Metropolitan Water District out there to talk about the federal proposals on the Colorado River and what that might mean for water supplies in Southern California. So if anybody's interested, infrastructure working group, 12 o'clock on Wednesday via Zoom.
Oh, that'd be fascinating. Anything else?
Yep.
Transit operators. Anybody?
We met last Thursday, and just had pretty standard updates, gave updates on the Measure M sub-regional equity program action that the Greenwood that the board took. And just went over some operator issues, that sort of stuff, nothing real substantive.
No, substantive. John, anything on Metro service?
Staff got COVID. They were shut down for 5 days. We didn't meet. We're meeting this Friday.
Okay, very well. Well, we are flying ahead of schedule.
Yes.
Anyone have a joke or any stories you'd like to tell from the weekend? Well, we stalled before I butcher the Caltrans. The Caltrans is a crapshoot if I ever get right who's going to present. Sir.
Almost completely irrelevant to you, but before the meeting started, you talked a little bit about getting here just in time. So down in Gardena, there used to be a racetrack called Ascot Park.
Okay.
My father was a huge, race car fan of that type, dirt type racing, and he had an uncanny skill to arrive. Because the first race, it was always like a trophy dash. It was only four highest qualifiers, and they'd have a short race, and then they, if whoever won, they got a trophy and they pictures and all. And so my father had an uncanny skill to arrive just so that we get there, just into our seats for the start of the trophy dash. So when you were talking about it, I got here just in time. That's my family just in time. It's irrelevant, but
There's always time for open wheel racing talk on a Monday. Man, showroom Monday after the race on Sunday.
Long Beach 2 weeks ago.
It's true. All right. Do we have Sergio or Namrata to talk Caltrans?
Hi, good morning. Sorry, I was having some audio issues, but I will be sending the file in the chat shortly. Based on a request I think we had last month, we have modified the file to show a little bit more detail about the location of the projects. And we've also included previous month's status update in the file for your information. The file was sent to David earlier this morning, but I'll go ahead and share it in the chat.
That's nice.
That's all I have for today.
Very well. Thank you.
Can I?
Please go ahead, John.
Yeah, bring up, since we have a representative from Supervisor Han's office, and I know that she opined in regards to the Gerald Desmond Bridge. And in terms of the work that they're going to be doing and potentially closing it for.
Or the Vincent Thomas Bridge.
Vincent Thomas.
Yeah.
Sorry, I screwed up there. Right, so I would imagine you're probably pretty plugged into that as well. Can you give us an update on what you know? And there's still opportunity for the public to comment too.
I will say it's a little surprising to me that it wasn't actually on our agenda. And I didn't mean to not actually request that it be an item, but since we had the Caltrans update here. Yeah, I mean, does the Caltrans representative, Nima, do you want to say something to this, or should I just pontificate?
I don't have any specific project information, so you can go ahead and provide that.
Yeah, okay, so the project is to redeck the entire Vincent Thomas Bridge. The decking there currently is old and needs to go. So basically, Caltrans has 3 options on the table. One is to close the entire bridge for a year and redeck the whole project and then reopen the bridge. Another is to do partial closures, where in one case, they would close all but 1 lane of the 4. And then that 1 lane would allow for one-way traffic that would be queued up one way or the other every couple minutes. That would be a 2-year closure of that variety. Another would be to just close 1 lane in each direction, and that would take about 3 years of that. And the public comment period for public scoping of they're doing a full environmental document because it is a culturally historic monument, or or something. It involves SHPO, State Historic Preservation Office. They're doing a full environmental document on this. They're in public scoping. People didn't really know this. Our office wasn't even aware of this until a couple of weeks ago. Right.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah,
The information on this.
that's why it's on.
Sparse. Unfortunately, I mean, I think they're trying, but I'm not sure that they're really hitting the right folks yet. We've directed them to a number of local groups, neighborhood councils, ILWU, the ports, which they have been talking to the ports. And they extended the public scoping period, which was to expire this week on May 12th. They've extended it to May 26th. Again, this is just the public scoping period. I've asked them to clarify what exactly they're interested in during this period versus when they have a draft environmental document, which would be they're anticipating at the end of this calendar year. We'll see what additional information they're able to offer on that front, because I think some of what we're getting from our community stakeholders is this is it. If we don't comment now, we're done. Right. And that's not where we're at. But it's not clear from how they have been presenting this project so far. One of the things the supervisor inquired about was she's very interested in this idea of like restarting the ferry that used to operate to Terminal Island many years ago as one potential way to help mitigate some of the issues with getting to and from the island. Suffice it to say, it is not satisfactory to us that at this time, Caltrans has identified a preliminary detour route that essentially moves all of these trucks and cars right through the heart of Wilmington. We just don't think that that's appropriate. And we're looking to them to be more aggressive in thinking through what this is going to really involve. So, yes, Don.
I don't know if you have much information here, but as I read through all of this last week, there's no numbers attached to it. And when they talk about shutting the whole bridge down for a year and working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
right,
versus these other scenarios that you described, is there a different financial impact with
Yes.
either of these?
Yes, 100%. It is. So part of their now urgency around this project is they've identified dollars that need to be spent in advance of the 2028 Olympics. So they're seeking it's done prior to the games. And that is not likely to occur on either of the partial closure options, but could potentially occur under the full closure option.
It has to be spent, not committed to be spent. Can't be in progress of being spent.
As far as I know, spent. They have shared with our office that in the event that that they have to go with an option that extends past that time, they would figure it out. But like at this time, that is where this project sits in terms of funding. The other thing I would just note that I forgot, but in terms of the closures, the partial closures still would involve numerous full closures on the weekends. So they would close it completely, say like from 9 p.m. on a Friday until 5 a.m. on a Monday, many weekends over the course of those 2 to 3 years. So this is not like some minor project. This is a $600-800 million bridge rehabilitation project.
Mr. Chair, I would say, and Nima is still listening. Gloria Roberts is supposed to be at our board meeting. She's the district director for District 7, and she's supposed to come. She better be ready to talk about this. We never, ever received anything. I read about it in the Daily Breeze. And I don't know what Don is right. None of us know the cost implications or anything else. And you'd think with the way they've done things, I mean, if they can keep an entire airport open, they should be able to keep a bridge open. There's just something like, have they really explored every alternative? I don't know. So I think this is a really important project that we should be engaging ourselves in, but we know nothing about it. So anything we can do with the supervisor.
Of course.
And Gloria Roberts should be ready to talk about it when she comes.
Well, that will be the last day but prior to the closure
I know.
of public scoping period. So
When was public closure?
when was
Last day, when's the last day of?
May 26th? Yeah, Friday, May 26th.
So I read they extended by 30 days, but only by 2 weeks.
Contact for more information. I mean, who are
You know what,
you?
let me get you that information. I'll get you that information.
Okay.
There's a few folks over on their team working on this.
Okay, because I think we need to know more about it.
Is there something magical about a large scale bridge project that sort of dropped it out of the typical communication? I mean, we get 700 projects we're informed about for Caltrans. and
Right.
Leaving out the $750 million bridge rehab would seem to be I mean, maybe is it just by the scope and size of it? Is it handled in a different manner?
It's a different team.
A different team somehow? It's just an odd thing to leave out.
Yeah. It's a really important bridge.
That is, I mean, a few people drive it. Couple. Do you think, so we will not meet before the 26th. What is our
We'll have to, if there's
See if we-
something, we'll have to bring something to the board meeting, I guess.
Okay.
And it might not be, we might have to add to the agenda. I don't know if I'll have things by the time the packet goes out. But if you can help me, Caltrans, to get more information, we're going to be needing that. Steve, do you know anything about this?
Me? No.
Yeah, Caltrans has.
Yes. No, the Caltrans hasn't contacted me at all. It's just what we saw in the Daily Breeze, like you said.
Oh, that's great.
And we have regular meetings with Caltrans. So.
Should invite the breeze. I think of better contacts, I guess. Who knew? All right, anything further on Caltrans besides bringing them in?
Caltrans.
Dan Rodman.
Oh, sorry, Dan.
No, no problem. Luke, could you just remind me, you mentioned this earlier, what's the date that the comment period closes?
Friday, May 26th.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the project is slated for 2025 and later to actually be built, or to be done. So we have time to get it properly described.
The other thing I just thought I'd mention, since we're talking about traffic going through neighborhoods, is tomorrow we have a meeting with Tim McCosker's office to talk about a project on, I guess it's Lomita Boulevard, because there are already trucks parking in neighborhoods and he's trying to figure out how to handle the trucks in Wilmington already. So, and that's without a bridge closure. So we'll probably have more, and we can talk to him about that at our meeting tomorrow as well.
All right. Now the 105-405 corridor management piece, we have Shraddha from Metro.
Hi, this is Shraddha.
Shraddha, we are on time. So the
Okay.
floor is yours.
Great. So let me share my screen and just confirm with me if you see the presentation pop up.
Love the background.
Yeah.
Nice.
We've got you.
Okay, great. So hello, thank you for having me present at today's meeting. My name is Shraddha Sharma, and I am the project manager for the I-105, I-405 Integrated Corridor Management Project. We previously showcased the ICM project last June and provided an overview of the project. So we're coming back today to show you the progress we made since then. So the ICM is really an approach to integrate the network during the incident. So when there is an incident on the freeway or on a ramp or an arterial, how can we leverage parallel capacity in a coordinated manner to help with an incident and get traffic through these congested periods? So the intent is to minimize impact of traffic, incidents, emergencies, events through the use of transportation technology, and bring the 105-405 corridor agencies for integration and cooperation. And our goal through all of this is to see improved mobility, improved safety, and improved air quality. So, okay, there we go. So Metro is the lead agency for the 105-405 ICM. Again, I'm the project manager for this project, and the project traverses through a number of cities. You can see that we have a lot of partner agencies. So starting with Caltrans, LAWA, South Bay Cities COG, as well as a number of cities that the ICM system passes through. So El Segundo, Gardena, Hawthorne, Inglewood, Manhattan Beach, Lawndale, City of LA, and as well as County of LA. And we also have CHP, who are our primary responders to freeway incidents. And then we also have HNTB as our primary consultant that will help us deliver this project. So here's an overview of the project area. As far as ICM projects go, this is the first of its kind, and that involves two freeway corridors. So the 105 freeway corridor basically starts from the west at Sepulveda to the 110, and then the 405 corridor from Rosecrans up to Manchester. And then there's a number of parallel east-west corridors, such as Century, Imperial, 120th, and El Segundo, that could be used to facilitate traffic around an incident. And then we have, in the north-south direction, the parallel routes are Sepulveda, Aviation, La Cienega, and Hawthorne. And the 405 was actually a recent addition to our project. So Caltrans is doing a project on the freeway and have partnered with Metro because there's so much overlap in our project area. Sorry, I'm losing my voice right now. But you can see the overlap in the green box. So why is this project needed again? It's for non-recurrent traffic congestion when there's an incident both on the freeway or on arterials. And this is a unique area because of all the unique trip generators, whether it be LAX, Inglewood Entertainment District, or even the 2028 Olympics. And because of the uniqueness of this area, it's a high priority corridor for Metro. Outside of traffic incidents, there are a lot of events happening in this area where a coordinated effort is really needed. So we plan to improve and deliver operational efficiencies on the arterial and freeway network when incidents occur. And we'll automate the process so it's a hands-off approach for local agencies and stakeholders. So what is the ICM solution? What are we going to do as part of this project? Just at a high level, these are just the goals and benefits to address those needs I just mentioned in the last slide. To improve the operational capabilities of these agencies or to integrate with these agencies. So the intersections and more importantly, the communications are talking to each other during incidents. We'll need to develop a response plan. So if there is an incident, what is a response plan to flush out that traffic, whether it be in an east-west fashion for a 105 incident or north-south fashion if it's an incident on the 405. And again, we're looking at a level of automation. So if you're not Caltrans, if you're a city or if you're the county and you don't have someone working for you, 24/7 around the clock, there's an automated option to use response plans. And it would only be needed if there is an incident. It's not for everyday traffic. So here's an overview of the ICM project and what we plan on doing for the design phase. We've completed the concept of operations and work with stakeholders in identifying our user needs and what are our most important needs to our stakeholders. And then we identified operational scenarios or scenarios that needed to be modeled and have response plans developed for. And then now we're at the point where we're working on developing the actual system requirements that are tied to the user needs that were identified during the ConOps. Okay, so this is a high-level architecture. What does the ICM entail in terms of input and output? So on the left side, the inputs are a lot of field devices that we have out there in the field, whether it be on the freeway or at an intersection level. It'll talk to the system in the cloud or the ICM system or decision support system. And then it will communicate that data back to a number of platforms, whether it be traveler information systems, field elements, or third-party apps, or even connected vehicles. And then it will communicate the best response plan with the best viable option, route option. So this is just an example of the engine rules that may take place in deciding whether the ICM should or should not be activated. So first, an incident will be detected, and then a decision will be made if the ICM needs to be activated. It will assess the traffic conditions, determine routes, make a response plan recommendation based on the scenario, and then implement the response plan and monitor operations. And when the incident is cleared, the ICM will deactivate, and all of this will require minimal to no manual intervention. So in our ConOps, we identified 10 different scenarios, which a system would provide a response plan for. So you can see this up here on the screen, from major to moderate incidents, either on the freeway or ramps or arterials, to specific events such as the evacuation of LAX. So if something major happens at one of these entertainment venues in Inglewood, we would have a incident scenario and a response plan made for that. And that's the case for all of these scenarios. So the response plans basically entail traffic signal flush plans, specific ramp metering plans, and again, pushing that information to different agencies and platforms like 511 or law enforcement or transit, as well as traveler information to all the users in the system. And that may be third-party apps, websites, the Metro Trip Planner, or even signs out in the field, such as a CMS or DMS sign. So we are working on the system requirements, and eventually we'll start our high-level design document. All of the elements that we include as part of this project will be determined during system requirements and high-level design. But given that Metro is leading another ICM project on the 710 freeway and have experience with the 210 Connected Corridors project, we do believe that some of the improvements may include the following on the slide. So we have signal upgrades, communication upgrades, advanced ramp metering, vehicle detection, CCTV cameras, system integration, and many others. But this list of features is still in progress, and with the input stakeholders, will further develop the requirements. And then Metro also wants to make a concerted effort in addressing equity and safety. So we found that there are 34 EFCs in our study area, or equity focused communities. And EFCs are made up of communities that have, they're considered low income households, are BIPOC residents, and are households with no access to a car. So in order to address these concerns of mobility for these groups of people, we've suggested some improvements that are still in consideration. One is to improve safety by pet detection or extending green times and crosswalks, ensure that ICM response plans consider sensitive zones like schools, and then provide enhanced visibility or alerts. And also, we're still talking to other stakeholders like the Vision Zero group at LA County, and working with different cities in identifying more needs and other features that can address these concerns. So for this project, we are following the systems engineering process. So this is a V diagram that you see on the screen, and we're working on the left side of this V diagram. We'll basically be completing all of design and going through detailed design, and that will take us to middle of 2024. And then after that, Metro will go out and build and implement the system through a separate contract. So again, we're in the middle of system requirements, and the requirements will feed into our high level and detailed design. And at the end of this contract, we'll have a final PS&E plan set that we can share with the group afterwards. And that concludes my presentation. Here's also my contact information in case you'd like to reach out to me, and I'm happy to take any questions if there are any.
Questions? Done.
I came away with the impression that your system, once operated, once put into effect, is an automated system. It will inform everyone, and it will go until the incident has subsided. But initially, there is a question as to whether or not to implement your system. Who is going to be the person making that decision?
So I can tell you a little bit from the experience that we have on the 210, which is either going into effect soon, or I think it's about to start. But from my understanding with the DSS, or the decision support system, we will give city engineers or traffic engineers the chance to essentially decline whether the response plan goes into effect. So there is an opportunity to not have the ICM go into effect, but it would have to be a coordinated effort between the different cities, because the message would be sent out to all of the stakeholders as part of the ICM project. And I also have Ed Allegre on the call. Ed, do you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Correct. Like, so Caltrans is a 24/7 operation. So if there is an incident on the freeway, Caltrans will flag it, and it will send a alert to the decision support system where, this brain, so you call it, would figure out a response plan. So it would spit out, okay, we're gonna do response plan A. City El Segundo, you good? They may set theirs to automatic. Or Inglewood, are you good? They'll probably get an alert on their phone, so they could say yes or no, but after 5 minutes, if we don't get a response, it would go approve on timeout, and then the response plan would kick in. So when the incident is done, Caltrans will say incident's done, and they would go in the system and shut it down, and then it would all return back to normal operations. Hopefully that answered your question, Tom.
Thank you.
Okay.
A quick question.
Please, John, go ahead.
Thank you. I like the system. I mean, having lived here in Los Angeles forever and seeing the 405 degrade to horrible traffic conditions over the years, this seems like a good plan. I guess the question is a couple things. It was said that if the response team could say no or yes to automation, even if they say no, though, can they still get some ideas from the automated system on potential best routes so that they can lead that charge? And then the second part of the question is what are the performance metrics for this? I know some of our traffic jams are just horrendous, and with all these activities coming into Los Angeles over the next several years, this is obviously a critical component of success for all of that. So what's the performance metric in terms of this?
So in terms of your performance metrics question, we have developed a performance measurement plan that I can actually share with you. But yeah, we have identified, I think it was about 6 different performance measures. I'm sorry, was there something specifically that you're interested in terms of, mobility or safety or?
It's more mobility. I mean, I think the concern is that when you had identified, I think 8 or 10 really possible and good scenarios that, were examples. And I think those are all realistic examples. And some of those shutdowns can last for hours. So, and I'm sure you have lots of data. I'm sure Caltrans has a lot of data on how long those shutdowns and delays and all that stuff. So there must be a current metric, and then there must be, what do you want, a 10% improvement, a 50% improvement on what you currently have in terms of the amount of delays and shutdowns that happen? I mean, to me, I'm not a traffic engineer, I'm a civil engineer, but I look at some of these accidents where there's a couple cars sitting in the number 2 lane and they're blocking 3 lanes of traffic. And I always think, and people are sitting in that for a half hour, an hour. It's like, why couldn't we use some type of LiDAR scanning to scan the scene of the accident and then get those cars out of those lanes so we can open them up quickly? I mean, why do they have to sit in those lanes forever? And so, but that could just be me just being stupid, or it could be, why does it take so long to get these traffic accidents sorted out that are causing hours, hundreds of hours of delays for people?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the question. What's the metric? Like, what are you trying to achieve?
Well, we're trying to reduce the response time to incidents, and also just alleviate traffic on the freeway and arterials when an incident does occur. So using diversions that already exist but have a more coordinated manner with systems that are integrated across like city boundaries, and also having the cities talk to Caltrans, which, not every city is communicating with Caltrans. So some of the performance measures that we've identified as part of our performance measurement plan is, reductions in VMT or increased throughput, or, reduced travel times, things like that. So we are going to do evaluations. We are piloting a system right now with NREX, and we'll, do before and after evaluations of how our ICM, how successful the ICM project is once it's in operations.
Yeah, sure. I'll add on to that as well. Yeah, Shorta did mention our tools that we have. So we do have a couple of third-party data tools. So we do have our Measure Up program called Clear Guide, where we could assess the travel times along the freeway and arterials. So when the system is in place, we will have a lot of data to do a lot of comparison. And we don't have an exact number, like you said, 10% increase or 10% decrease in traffic. But what we will be able to report is, okay, before the incident, it was X amount of congestion, and then after it improved by X amount on the arterials. So a lot of data that we will be consuming for the project. But we don't have an exact like percentage of what we want to achieve. Again, this is all non-recurring. Each accident or each incident is different in nature. I think one thing, like an example I gave last year is that incident on the 105 where the freeway was shut down. I think, there's severities to each incident. But we will report these, we will report the performance of the system after each time the system goes into operation. You did have the first question I want to go back to. If they did say no to response plan A, then the DSS will kick in a response plan B, and then they'll have another chance to say yes or no. I would say that if an agency would say no, it's because they don't agree with the plan, and they said, okay, we don't agree with this one, so it will generate another one, the second best, and then it will keep going down. And then, if they keep saying no, it will just be no initiation of the ICM system.
I think you answered the question. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Before I move on, Schroeder, Ed, briefly, does this system encompass, it receives data feeds from LAX as well?
We are having conversations with LAWA, so in terms of like what the integration will look like with LAX is still to be determined, but we will be working with LAWA and their decision support system that they'll be implementing soon.
Does it have access to the 105 west to, as it turns into Imperial Highway? Also got to know about here, just because when those VIP access ramps from LAX, when we have, the vice president comes once a month and it paralyzes 105, 405 interchange, that would seem to be the sort of non-scheduled traffic that would be important for this thing to be able to respond to.
Correct. Yeah, we'll be working with LAWA and they have their own DSS as well. So we're working with them to figure out what's best, because their DSS only focuses on the LAX side, where if they integrate with us, we have the ability to get to a broader range of signals and alerts through the changeable message signs on the freeway or any signs that we have up on the arterial streets. So it will have that ability.
Good. I think that's an important integration for a massive traffic driver as it goes to 120 million passengers per year. Anything else?
That's a
Sorry,
good point. That's a good point too, with the president, vice president always visiting. We didn't think about that too. So that would be an event that we would have to consider.
It's a hoot. I'll tell you, nothing like trying to get to Little League during that. It's great. Anything else on this piece? Thank you very much for the update. It's important use of technology to make traffic better. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Schroeder, for your time. Thank you, Ed.
Thank you.
All right. That gets us 8 minutes behind schedule as we prepare for the gladiatorial combat around the green line routing, or the C line, as it goes to the K line. As attachment C in your packet, who will present on this item? Is this you, David?
I think.
Oh, Steve?
Will, but we will not be having the metro presentation, just so you know.
Oh, very well.
Because
They weren't ready with the data time for this meeting, so.
we're having it Friday, come on down.
You mean they're going to be ready Friday, but they're not ready today?
It's on our agenda. That's all I can tell you.
We were working towards that, but I don't think we have that yet, so we'll have to see.
Friday?
Yes, Don, we might not present on Friday on that item.
Okay, just checking.
Okay, so the issue is, and the reason why it's here is we wanted them to present.
Yeah.
But they don't have the data yet. However, I suggested that maybe we just talk about it because maybe this is rash, but no matter what the data is, there's really only one good option for the South Bay.
I mean, I will certainly open this to the committee. I don't know that, or our opinion may not change, but I think it would certainly be colored if there was some data. I think we've sort of rolled this thing a number of ways, unless there's a shocking data point that we are missing. I would suspect our recommendation will not change, but I'm open to, should we just have a qualitative presentation here?
Mark, when is the data, when is our position important? For the board, I mean, when does the board decide?
We're still looking at board dates. We originally planning on going to the board in June. I'm not clear yet on whether or not they're going in June, but we have a process at Metro in terms of briefings, and the data just wasn't ready. It wasn't ready as of the end of last week. As you remember, we went out to the public with an online survey system, and that information they just finished up, so they haven't been able to parse it and put it together in a presentable way yet.
Can I put
It's likely July.
information,
Likely July? Very well, please go ahead.
so that public comment, was that issued to all the surrounding residents that are impacted by this?
The
This
survey,
this is not the green line, you know, this is we're talking about the operating plan.
Oh, okay.
this is whether we'll go one trip between the South Bay up to the sea line, or the one trip will be from Norwalk up to through LAX,
And
or a blend of both.
Britt missed your announcement at the,
Pardon?
Britt missed your announcement at the beginning.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was like the Gettysburg Address, but slightly shorter. It was just that we were going to hold off on making Green Line extension, making an opinion until Metro shows their preferred option. Just to sort of,
Isn't that a little late if once they've showed their, I mean, isn't the whole point that we would tell them what our opinion might be?
I think that we have a number of comments to date on it, and we were just finding that our meetings were somewhat paralyzed by repeated comments. But to the point from some of the public, it's important to get their comments in the minutes and on the record as well.
We also have the issue of 3 cities completely disagreeing. So no matter what we do, we will be angering 2 cities. And so I think we need to step back a little bit.
We'd be having the same debate at every meeting without having something necessarily to reach a conclusion on. It was just that it was just an operational way to
So
sort of
you're saying.
expedite our meetings.
Cities have different opinions.
There's
3
3
different-
cities involved. All 3 cities have a different, want a different conclusion.
Well, like Lawndale doesn't want anything.
Right. So anything we do will anger 2 cities. Straight up.
Predominantly Lawndale, Redondo, and Torrance.
Right, that's right.
So Torrance wants the row and Redondo wants the elevator. And Lawndale wants nothing.
Right.
Is that realistic?
But that said,
Possibly.
on this particular agenda item,
Yes,
is,
sorry.
do we want a qualitative briefing, updated briefing? We're not going to be, we're
Let's
not
hope.
making broad conclusions. Steve, do you want to just give us an update so we're fresh in our brain?
Okay, so the alternative for the project that we're supporting is a line that starts in the South Bay and goes north to the Exposition line with a 1-seat ride. The alternative is to have a ride from Norwalk, a 1-seat ride up to Expo. A third alternative is to, if we do the 1-seat ride up to Expo, the Norwalk line would terminate at LAX. I think those are the 3.
And the option C is generally speaking what we have now, where you have 1 seat from the South Bay all the way to effectively the 105. But it would stop there instead of, you would have to change there or
You
at,
have to go up a little bit more.
we have to go one stop further east to Rosa Parks.
Correct.
And that you would also have 1 seat from Norwalk up to the sea line.
Correct.
Very well.
The question is, does the South Bay want to provide a 1-seat ride north to Expo or not? And then will the Metro Board approve such an alternative when we haven't yet extended the line up to, of course, it would be more strong if you had the Expo line extended to across the purple line on Wilshire and the red line up to Hollywood. Once that happens, it's a very strong north-south corridor in the mid-city area. Until that time, and if you extend the line down to the Torrance Transit Center, that also helps. But eventually, there's going to be a need for this line to have priority if it goes from the Torrance Transit Center all the way up to Hollywood. But that's decades from now. So the question is, what do we want right now? And right now, a one-seat ride would be from the Marine Station in Redondo Beach up to Expo.
And to clarify, where we are now is that Metro has done a set of extensive outreach, sort of two-pronged. We've done a survey for the public, and that's gone out online. And we've also done rider surveys along the line, the green line. And then the third aspect of it is holding public meetings. All of that concluded just less than a week and a half ago, and we don't have the results of that communication and outreach to share with any decision maker yet.
So I would say we'll pick it up again when Metro's ready to present the results of the survey. And
It's Steve. Jackie has a comment as well.
I have a question.
Excuse me.
My question is, we just invested a whole lot of money in the Inglewood Transit Connector. That transit connector is good for people coming from the north. People coming from the south would have to, if we go with any other option, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is sort of a question. If we go with any other option than us going straight through, then we would have to, in order for us to take transit, we would have to go on to the 105, get off the 105, transfer, and then go down. So our ride to the stadium would be a 3-seat ride.
That's it. We go ITC to C line to, or ITC to Crenshaw to C line, pink C line, new pink C line as it is, and then change at Aviation to get on green line.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we invested, what we just did invested money for people coming north, but didn't help us coming south. This is the one that helps us coming south. I mean, am I saying it right? North, south, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
That's fine.
to tie an issue, Steve is probably right that we may be premature, but also when we do take a final position on this, I think it's important for District 2 to be on this as well. I'm not sure. Is Lily? Because District 2 has a strong opinion.
I had an informal discussion with her, and I think District 2 is with us. I don't know where District 4 is, but the only reason I put it on the agenda is, to me, and I'm not normally like this, it's going to have to take cataclysmic information for us to change our mind, because every single thing on this points to the fact that we should have this through line.
I suspect you are correct. However, if we took a position in advance of this data, we would be having it agendized once again.
Yeah.
Too.
So
we can triple confirm.
Yeah, so we can do the data, but we must do this before Metro takes a position.
And Metro is due to take a position in July.
June, July. Yeah, so we have time.
June, July. But we'll come back to you
So
definitely.
you'll be, if you can come back to the June Transportation Committee for sure.
Okay.
All right.
Yes.
So
Indecision is the key to flexibility. I'm elated we were able to take this non-position. My father has a million of those. Like Yogi Berra. All right, and that leaves us to, is there anything else further on this item for Mark? Or Mark, anything further for us?
No, we're forward to coming back out to you and presenting the information.
do we have, does Supervisor Hahn have a position? Luke?
Supervisor does not have a position this time, no.
Okay.
And I think folks will recall that when this came up back in 2018, the supervisor had a very strong position, which was very much in support of this COG and the Gateway Cities COG, who would work together to collaborate around a shared one-year pilot proposal, which is discussed in the staff briefing in this item. So that's clearly not the recommendation of the COG at this time. I don't know where the Gateway Cities COG is going to be. I suspect, based on the discussion here, we may see a different set of requests from the Gateway Cities COG. Not sure where that's going to land at this Metro staff side. So we will track that along as we go. The one thing I just would note from the staff discussion on this, which I was just questioning a little bit, and Steve, maybe you can speak to this briefly. There's a lot of references to Torrance. And given the discussion we've already had here at this committee, I wonder if it may be a bit premature for this COG to be referencing Torrance as the southern end of this line, if we haven't yet decided if that's actually something we would support, or if we should simply stick with the Redondo Beach Marine Station at this time until there's a more particular position for this COG. That's the one thing. And I don't know, Steve, like what's the anticipated communication that would accompany this to the Metro Board and to staff? But the item references Torrance repeatedly, and since it's not actually what the line currently goes to, I just felt a little uncomfortable with that given the discussion we've had here today.
Good point.
I only like to make good points, Steve.
Luke, would it be more appropriate to just say the southern terminus?
Yeah, the southern what?
Terminus.
I think what I was trying to anticipate was the ultimate operating plan, not the current operating plan. So ultimately, the line would go, if it's built, to Torrance, and it would go north up to Hollywood if the northern extension of the Expo line is built. But both of those, as I said, are decades away. So I think we need to listen to Luke.
Glad to agree.
All right.
And Dan, to your question about Southern Terminus, I would defer to staff as far as what the discussion item looks like next month.
I think it's the current operating plan with an understanding that it would be changed if the line gets extended either north or south. It would strengthen the north-south corridor at that, if either of those extensions were built.
I would just, appreciate, our operations staff giving you a presentation, showing you the ins and outs. I think, frankly, I think we're putting too much weight on a transfer and what that means. Or a one-seat ride, but I'll defer to our operations unit.
And I would disagree. I think a transfer provides a real barrier of at least 3 or 4 minutes, and that change creates a different trip. And especially if we have 2 transfers rather than just 1.
All right, I look forward to a lively discussion of that when we bring this back.
Before you leave that, you must be noted that the transfer stations only handle 2 cars
Today.
Yeah.
today. So how is that maximizing the use of your system?
Good point. What you're looking at me curiously. The reason is when the Green Line was built, it was built with 2-car platforms in the El Segundo extension area. Starting at aviation and all those down to Marine, it's not a 3-car platform, which is standard for Metro. It's a 2-car platform, which limits the amount of capacity to transfer. And Metro's analysis previously has been the amount of transfers are not going to overwhelm a 2-car train. They could be accommodated within the 2-car train length until you extend it north to Hollywood. Then you really need a 3-car train. I think that was their last operating position.
Very well. We will move on to the Metro budget item. We have Chrisette Stark and Marie Kim. Are you with us? I know we're slightly behind.
No worries. Actually, I just wanted to mention that my co-presenter is Giovanna Grogrief, who is also on the line. And we have also some other staff with us. Zach and Jason and also Marie are online to help us answer any questions that the group may have. And I just want to make sure, can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, great. So for those of you who are not familiar with me, my name is Cosette Stark and I am in the Finance and Budget Department. And I'm here to go over our Metro FY24 proposed budget. Okay. Next slide, please. And also we have with us too, Andrew Madrid from our team who's going to help us with our slides. Okay, so here is our agenda for our presentation. First, I'll go over the overall budget revenues and expenses in a high level. And then I will talk about, Gio and I are going to go over the 10 budget programs. And then we will finish out with our key initiatives and talk about our expanded public engagement program. Our key initiatives were, and the entire budget were driven by the feedback that we got through our public engagement process. Okay, Andrew, next slide, please. Okay, so here is our overall budget. It is proposed at 9 billion. Sorry about that. Spam call. So it is proposed at 9 billion for FY24. On the left-hand side, you see our revenues, and on the right are our expenditures. On the revenue side, over half come from our 4 county sales taxes and statewide general sales and diesel fuel taxes. The next largest revenue category is capital and bond resources, followed by our operating and other revenues. On the expenditure side, there are 10 programs, as I mentioned. The top 3, Metro Transit operations, our transportation infrastructure development, and regional allocations and pass-throughs program make up 70% of the total budget, and I'll go into those in more detail. Okay, next slide. Okay, Transit Infrastructure Development, or our TID program for short, is the program where some of our largest and most complex projects reside. The FY24 preliminary budget for TID is 2.2 billion, which is approximately 25% of the total Metro budget. Transit planning, which is listed on the left, includes the budget for planning studies for projects, and it has increased by 118 million, or 69% from over FY23. The increase is due to increased funding for planning projects in environmental and design phases. Some of those projects include the C or Green Line South Bay Extension, the Sepulveda Corridor, West Santa Ana Branch, and East Side Transit Corridor Phase 2 projects. These projects will also advance to requiring funds for construction in future fiscal years, and thus this year's requested budget reflects current project phasing only. On the right-hand side, we have our transit construction budget, which is projecting to decrease by 237 million, or 11% over FY23. The reduction is due to substantial completion of the regional connector project in FY23 and timing adjustments to the cash flows for other projects. All major construction projects continue to progress, including Purple Line extensions, sections 1, 2, and 3, Gold Line Foothill extension to Pomona, Metro Airport connector, East San Fernando Valley corridor, and the Orange Line BRT improvements. So that is our that's basically our TID program for FY24. Next slide, please. The Highway Multimodal Development Program touches many different transportation modes and trip purposes in and around LA County. This is reflected in this program's name. This program's FY24 preliminary budget is estimated at 602 million, which is 6.6% of the total Metro budget. The Highway Multimodal Program is in a state of transition. The legacy expansion projects are moving forward, but some are being rescoped in association with community and local government input. Projects being rescoped include projects like the 710 North, the 710 South, and 605 Hotspots program. Recent changes to eligibility requirements allow more multimodal components in streets and freeway projects, and we anticipate seeing more of these elements in the coming years. Big changes from last year include additional investments to countywide bus-only lane infrastructure and a large increase in express lane construction as the I-105 express lane projects embarks on design and construction efforts. On the expansion side, Metro is supporting ongoing construction of the I-5 North in North County, the SR 5760 Confluence Interchange improvement, and segments of the I-5 North and South. If you have questions about specific projects, we can provide those after the meeting. Okay, next slide. Next program I'm going to go over is the Regional Rail Program. It includes efforts to maintain and improve regional rail service and related infrastructure throughout our service area. The FY24 preliminary budget is estimated at $302 million, which is 3.3% of the total Metro budget. In FY24, Metro's Regional Rail Program will seek to complete the final design for several grade separation and double tracking projects and advance those projects into the construction phase pending board approval. The Link Union Station project will continue right-of-way acquisition and procurement of the design and construction contract, and full construction activities will continue for the Rosecrans Marquardt grade separation project. Finally, Metrolink's FY24 preliminary budget is included here and is estimated at $144.9 million, but it still needs to be finalized through separate board action. Okay. Andrew, next slide, please. Okay, our next program is Regional Allocations and Pass-Throughs, formerly referred to as subsidy program. This makes up about 22% of Metro's annual budget, totaling just over $2 billion. This program includes the funds that are passed through to LA County local jurisdictions, municipal and local transit operators, and also includes funding for access services. The total program is estimated to increase 8% over FY23, which is driven primarily by the higher projected sales tax revenues. The graphic lists the various subprograms and projected FY24 budget amounts for each. 91% of this program is allocated by formula, federal guidelines, state law, or board policy. The column on the left presents local agency programs, which includes local return and also includes TDA's Articles 3 and 8. This program is projected at $962 million in FY24, a 17% increase over FY23. Next is regional transit, which includes funding to the municipal and local transit operators and access services, and is estimated at $781 million, a 13% increase over FY23. So 85% of this program's budget is made up by these first two subprograms I just mentioned. And then we have the major projects subprogram with a projected budget of $164 million. This subprogram includes larger projects that are being implemented by other agencies. Projects included are the Alameda Corridor East grade separations, phase 2 project, a new project for Antelope Valley Metrolink line, the Inglewood Transit Connector, and Sankofa Park. Next, we have other local agency programs. This subprogram includes competitive grant programs available to local agencies like the COG Projects Active Transportation Program, Congestion Reduction Toll Revenue Program, and others, and is estimated at $87 million. Next is the Fair Assistance program subprogram, which is just made up of our LIFE initiative, a regional program that provides fare subsidies to low-income riders with a projected budget of $32.5 million. And finally, we have our regional federal grants, including Job Access Reverse Commute, New Freedom, Section 5310 grants projected at $30 million. Okay, so let's move on to our next program. Our next program is General Planning and Programming. This budget supports a wide range of activities to improve regional mobility, encourage sustainability, and provide regional long-range financial planning and grants management. The General Planning and Programming section's FY24 preliminary budget is $233.7 million, which is approximately 2.6% of the total Metro budget. Key regional initiatives include the LA River Bike Path, Union Station capital improvements, a zero emissions bus study, and incentives to encourage carpooling and transit use. This list is not exhaustive of all the general planning and programming initiatives, but it gives you a feel for what is included. Okay, And next slide, please. The next programs I want to talk about is the oversight and administration and debt service area. These programs include administrative and debt efforts required to keep the agency moving forward. The budget is estimated $574 million and comprises 6.4% of the Metro budget. The oversight and administration budget supports Metro staff costs and is a small portion of the Metro budget. You can see it's estimated at $84 million. The program reflects recurring activities such as legal services, ethics compliance, internal investigations, regulatory environmental assessments, alongside legally mandated financial and compliance audits. Agency-wide support functions continues to invest in areas of customer transit experience, such as the Mystery Rider program to support fair and equity, fare compliance. We continue to invest in our workforce, including the knowledge management, seed school, and Win LA. Resources are allocated to the areas of diversity, equity, and inclusion, including new initiatives such as the Equity Advisory Board, the Disparity Study, and the Community-Based Organization database. This portion of the budget also finances debt service costs for bonds issued to advance major capital investment projects, like the ones listed on this slide on the right. As you can see, debt service comprises the majority of this particular program. Okay, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Giovanna.
Thank you, Cosette. And I'm going to take us through the last 8 slides. I'll try to do it pretty quickly. I know we're running short on time. So this is our congestion management program, which includes our express lanes, freeway services, patrol motorists, and rideshare services. It's the FY24 proposed budget is about $131.9 million, which represents a decrease of about $5.1 million or 3.7%. Comprises about 1.5% of our budget. So the express toll revenues are used to reimburse operators for enhanced bus service along the express lanes corridor. We have new express lanes that are being studied by the congestion management staff, as well as this budget includes planning related to activities associated with the I-10 express lane extension and the I-10 pilot for HOV 5+ and occupancy detection system pilot programs. This kind of gives you an understanding of what our congestion management program is like. And I'm going to move us on to our most complex program, which is our transit operations and maintenance program, which represents a core function of the agency and has a budget of $2.4 billion or 27% of the total budget. FY24 system-wide bus and rail service plan, which includes 8.9 million service hours, is an increase of about 2.3% over the FY23 budget. And we are committed to providing equitable, accessible, clean, safe, and reliable service for all of our customers. And in support of this effort, Metro has increased the budget for staffing related to increased service and increased bus and rail cleaning by about 23.6 million or 13%, which is a 13% increase. We're also going to discuss key initiatives to enhance the customer experience and safety in the next coming slides. We're going to be fully staffed with bus operators throughout FY24 to deliver about 7.12 million bus revenue service hours, and we're going to continue to provide speed and reliability enhancements as part of the next gen bus plan. So for rail,
What is RSH?
Revenue service hours.
Thank you.
thank you. That's okay. So our expenses for rail are increasing by 7.8% to 57.2 million to deliver about 12.3% increased rail revenue service hours for full operation of the Crenshaw line and the regional connector, as well as improving our headways for all of our light rail lines. This budget is also going to include a full year of Metro Micro service, which has had the pilot extended until September 2023. So with our next slide, please, Andrew, I'm going to go through our key initiatives, which are in 5 different areas of fares, next gen, public safety, and new initiatives for cleaning. So all the initiatives are a result of us getting public feedback and are intended to improve customer experience. And so I'm going to highlight a few of them. So we have in FY24, we have our $32.5 million for the LIFE program, as Cassette mentioned. This has exceeded the goal to double our enrollment, and we continue to partner with DPSS to make enrollment easier. LIFE now has over 212,000 participants, so we're really pleased about that. We have our Go Pass pilot, which is available to over 1.3 million students and now has over 234,000 students registered in the program. We're really happy about that as well. The budget does include $1 million for the Mobility Wallet, which is a pilot program in collaboration with the City of LA for low-income residents in South Los Angeles. We're also going to be launching our fare capping in FY24 along with the approved fare changes. Fare capping is going to offer our riders the best fares without having to pay upfront for passes. So we're making our system more reliable through our next gen improvements. So this year we have $52.9 million for next gen. We're working to restore service while improving quality, frequency, and reliability with next gen. We have our transit signal priorities, our bus mobile validators for the rear door boarding, our camera bus enforcements and bus lane enforcements, and our BRT network improvements in the North San Fernando Valley, as well as we're working towards a goal of more frequency and reliability with our service in those areas. So another area that I'd like to highlight is with our public safety initiative and cleaning. We're making our system safe. Our Reimagining Public Safety framework supports a more holistic view of public safety. And our approach is a multi-layer strategy that is going to deploy more appropriate personnel to address specific areas. We are using our transit ambassadors, homeless and mental health outreach teams, and transit officers, as well as law enforcement, to enhance our public safety on the system. We're going to be evaluating a feasibility study that will hopefully bring about a Metro Police Force. And we're also trying to make it more comfortable. We have these new initiatives such as Room to Work program, which is going to help support our unhoused riders and also help individuals discover new career opportunities in transportation. These temporary workers for the Room to Work are going to be part-time custodians, and they're going to help with cleaning our system as well as obtaining needed work experience. We are improving the Westlake MacArthur Park Station through a new pilot program that uses interventions to deter non-transit loitering in an effort to improve customer experience. We're also trying to make it as clean as possible. We want the system to be clean, so we're continuing these efforts with the budget, which includes $201 million for cleaning, which is a 13% increase over last year. And this includes an addition of 24 new custodial staff. We've identified 13 rail stations as hotspots for round-the-clock cleaning, and these new custodians will help with shift coverage for those areas. Cleaning surges on the rail and daily bus cleaning are also included in the FY24 budget. And we are on target to complete the vinyl seat replacements on the buses and rail systems by June 2023. So all of these initiatives are underway to improve customers' experience. So with that, I want to kind of talk about our capital program for bus and rail.
Giovanna, can I ask you a quick question on that slide is that spending flat from the previous year, or does that reflect the change on the safety spend?
The safety spend is, let's see. I'm just trying to see if I think it
was an increase.
I'm trying to see how much of an increase it is. Yeah. Well, while I am going through the last couple of slides, I think someone on staff, if they can look and see what the increase is for the safety.
Yeah. Okay. And did I hear correctly that was mooting a A sworn officer of Metro Police Force?
It is studying there's going to be a feasibility study, for a Metro Police Force. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So, for our transit, capital improvement program, which we call CIP, it's going to focus on maintaining and modernizing bus, rail, and support assets. So the CIP budget is about 541.4 million. It's a 6% total of our budget. On the bus side, we're making big improvements in the zero emission bus, our ZEP acquisitions. We're working on procurement of 93 buses, and we're continuing to build on our charging infrastructure. We are continuing to work through an extensive bus rehab and midlife program. We're also making a significant investment in the next gen bus projects to improve speed and reliability. So for rail, we're acquiring and improving rail cars. We are initiating procurement of 64 heavy rail cars, with 6 of those coming in FY24. And like bus, we're going to continue to work through an extensive rehab and midlife program. So we're also working towards maintaining our wayside buildings and other infrastructures to ensure that they are safe and reliable. So for other asset improvements areas, we are working through some significant projects like the rail to rail and the Center Street projects. We're also making significant improvements in technology projects that will improve safety and enhance the customer experience. So that closes out our CIP efforts. So I'm going to move us on to our outreach efforts.
And Gio, the answer to the increase in public safety it's a 3.7% increase over FY23.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cosette.
Thank you, Zach.
Last two slides for we're continuing to conduct our outreach for FY24. We're in the last few meetings now before we take this to the board. So we've had 3 telephone town halls to engage the public, and we've also released a budget tool this year. It's called the My Metro Budget Tool, and we have received over 2,200 written comments. We've had a lot of people also participating in the budget tool that we're very pleased with. The budget portal continues to be updated with our current schedule of budget related information. And we also have the adopted book, which has also been posted to the My Metro, to the Metro budget portal. That was posted last week. So for a deeper dive and more details on the proposed budget, you can go there. So next slide. This is my last slide, and this just basically walks us through areas of how you can participate in the feedback. You can go to like I said, the My Metro budget tool. You can also email us at budgetcomments@metro.net. We're going to have our public hearing on May 17th. That's in conjunction with the Finance, Budget, and Audit Committee meeting. We really do encourage you to visit the My Metro budget tool, where you can just find out any kind of information, take really deep dives into the budget. We're going to be enhancing that for the FY 2025 budget process from information that we did receive in FY 24. And so with that concludes our presentation, and I'm going to turn it back over to David for any questions that you may have related to the budget. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Giovanna. We have 7 minutes remaining. Does anyone have questions?
On the rail rehab program, the Green Line is old and needs some rehab. Do we know how much money is being allocated for that?
I remember the fastener program. It's a lot because they're redoing all the links, the fasteners that on the rails themselves.
Yeah. I mean, it's a 30-year rehab.
Yeah, cannot remember.
But I'm just wondering if the amount of money that you showed us, how much of that is allocated for Green Line?
I don't have that information. Is there anyone on staff that has that information readily available? If not, we can always bring that back to you and give you an update on that.
Great. I think we should get an update on that.
Okay.
But there's definitely funding in the budget for that.
Anyone else? Just John.
I'd like to know more, and maybe not at this meeting, but separately, but if they have the answer, the 710 mobility improvement projects, what is that?
Trucks.
You're sitting away from Luke's gonna tase you.
Don't ask that question.
Ruin my day like that.
When we just met each other.
Well,
You want to answer that, Gio?
Well, I was just
I
thinking,
do you want me
if
to,
someone
I was
on
gonna-
staff has any
do you want me to take a
information
shot
on
at that, or do you
well, no,
want to?
I was just gonna say that there's funding in the budget for the 710 North and 710 South, and both those projects are going through, as I mentioned, going through some re-scoping and working with the community. We have some past board action reports we can share if that's.
You get any input, any public comment on that, Cosette?
Have we gotten public? Yeah, yes. We have. Not my project, however, but yes. So I don't know all the details, but yes. I think this group probably knows more than I do, so.
Very well. We will get some information to John separately about that. And
Okay.
spare you a protest at your house. With that, anything further on this before John starts a riot?
Sorry. What I do.
Thank you very much, Cosette. We appreciate it. Giovanni, if you can get us that information on the Green Line rehabilitation, as you can tell, that is a hot topic for us in terms of train, electrification, number of cars, all those things, and the rehab.
Yes, we certainly will. We'll do that. Thank you very much, everyone.
Oh. Okay, yes, thank you.
Oh, actually, I don't, you know what, David, if we do have someone on staff that can help us with the 710, some 710 information.
On the north, but I think they're.
Yeah, 710, right. So I don't know, Tim, do you want to try to take that answer or help with that? We have one, not
I
sure.
think we can follow up later with the COG.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay, that's
I think so.
we can do that. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All
Bye-bye.
right, Steve, David, anything on the look ahead, attachment D?
No, nothing, I don't think anything that we need to point out or discuss.
But we should plan on Metro for the operating plan for the next meeting.
Correct.
And discussing also Green Line extension stuff, whether we're going to take a position or not.
Yeah, and I confirmed with staff, and you were definitely going to the board in not June, but July.
Great. Thank you.
And on the 3-month look ahead, there's an anticipated action by Metro to approve the Measure R South Bay Highway Program projects coming up in June. So if you guys have projects that added money to your current projects, the money should be eligible for an amendment to the agreements with Metro after they act in June.
Very well. Jackie?
Should you start the meetings at 10?
No. Because I will show up covered in Cheerios. But we may look at a 10:15 start next time, or depending on how heavy the agenda looks, we may look at 10 as well. Thank you all very much for your patience. Is there anything else?
We have to adjourn the meeting though to a certain time.
Pardon?
We have to, unless we adjourn the meeting to just adjourn, it's automatically 10:30. Should we adjourn the meeting to 10? We can always change that.
Right, you can always go later.
We can always go later? Oh, really? We can't just change that with a 96-hour notice? Okay, very well. Let's plan for 10:15 then next time. 10:15 for the June meeting. All right. Any saved rounds, announcements? All right, we are adjourned.